Well, hello everybody. I'm excited to be here today with two very important people, at least in my life, and probably yours if you are a Buckeye community member. We have Dr. Christy Sandvik, who is the superintendent here, and we have Mr. Nate Bowler, who is our chief financial officer. And we wanted to take a minute to share with you some very important information. So without further ado, I want to hand it over to Dr. Sandvik.
Well, hello everyone. So I am here today to talk a little bit about the upcoming bond election, and I would be remiss if I didn't start by thanking the community for the generosity and support that they have showed. We have just enjoyed a tremendous amount of support through the years. I was going over my notes for this video, and Mr. Bowler and I were visiting earlier, and over the last about 13 years, the community has graciously supported bonds and overrides. Just a reminder, bonds are for buildings and overrides in general support salaries, and we're going to get into that in a little bit. But over the last about 13 years, the district has seen bonds in the tune of about $65 million. And as many of you know, we opened our latest school, Marino Elementary School, with the passage of the last bond in 2015. And then last year, we also passed our override. And over the last about 10 years, we've seen almost $18 million in support for overrides. So very fortunate to be in a community that supports public education, whether it be an override or a bond. And this November, we are asking the voters to support us in another bond, which would support the growth of the district in 2 more schools and some technology. The amount for that bond is looking to be about $65 million. Mr. Bowler and I are going to talk to you a little bit about the cost of that and get into some specifics. But more importantly, this video in particular is to help staff remind them of the do's and the don'ts since it's an election year. So I'm going to ask Mr. Bowler and Dr. Lee to kind of walk through some of those questions that help keep us on track.
Yeah. So, and I'm going to throw a curveball for the first one because it's the most important driving. I know you get nervous, but it is probably the most important question that people are always asking. So I've heard a lot about growth and the word Buckeye together. Can you tell me a little bit about what's expected in Buckeye in the coming years?
Actually, that's a really good question. That's really what's driving a lot of this is the growth in Buckeye. We have a demographic study done every year, and projections show that we're going to need 4 schools in the next 10 years, which means that our school-age population, we're about 5,300 students right now. Our school-age population in Buckeye is going to be about 12,000, over 12,000 students. So that's one of the reasons that we are looking to build more schools. We need to house those kids.
Sure. Okay, great. So you mentioned earlier you're going to talk about the costs and what that breaks down to. You said $65 million, but can you articulate that a little bit more? What's the cost going to be for this?
So the cost to the taxpayer, what we're projecting, because it is spread over a 10-year period, it's about $5.60 a month on average for the average taxpayer that has a home assessed at about $100,000. We talk about $100,000 just because that's easy math, but it's about $5.60 a month for the taxpayer in Buckeye.
Okay, great. And so this vote is coming up soon. When exactly is the election?
It is November 6th.
Ooh, coming up soon.
Coming up soon. And just to remind everyone, October 8th is the last day to register for that election, register to vote. So get registered to vote.
And that's what I've heard both of you say many times, that the most important thing, regardless, is that everyone's registered to vote.
Yep, and I appreciate saying that. So if you're a new teacher or a new employee, or if you're just a new community member, you can always go on the website. I think it's called Service AZ.
Service Arizona.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that link is on our website. You can. There's all kinds of ways that you can find ways to register to vote. Before I forget, though, I wanted to make just an add to what Mr. Bowler was saying earlier. Our school district is the fastest growing school district in Maricopa County, and Buckeye, city of Buckeye, is now the 5th fastest growing city in the United States. And so what we're trying to do with the bond is stay ahead of this growth. So in particular, that $65 million price tag, what we're asking is that we have the 2 schools over the next 4 years, we get those schools in place to stay ahead of that growth. but also the technology, safety and security in our buildings. And for me as the superintendent, I just want to make sure that we're planning and staying ahead. I don't know if there's anything you want to add to that, Mr. Bowler.
No, and it's. I mean, you said it really well. Technology is important. Those are the kind of things that we need in our schools. You know, over the last 10 years, we've been cut.
Right.
Our capital funding has been cut, and this will significantly help classroom technology in our students.
You guys led me into my next. I was going to say you'll set me up for my next question. You actually partially answered it. You know, one of the common questions is where's that money going to go? So you kind of hit on several of them. But if you had to kind of break down, 4 big things that the money was going to be spent on, what would those be then?
Well, we've got renovations.
Renovations.
For existing schools
Mhm.
and safe and secure facilities. We always want our schools to be safe. We've got the 2 new schools that we want to plan for. Technology, which has included the hardware and infrastructure. We want to make sure that we aren't creating what's often termed the digital divide.
Right.
And then we have additional buses. So we got to make sure that kids get to school as well. So
Okay.
those are those main topics that you will read about in the bond pamphlet.
Can't run a school district without some of those things in place, right? So I've heard a slang term, at least I think it's a slang term, and I want because I know we're talking about election terminology. What does it mean when somebody says the ballot drops?
The ballot.
Does it mean somebody dropped their ballot?
Well, in a figure of speech, yes. No, so when a ballot is dropped, that means that the county has sent those ballots out to voters in the
Okay.
mailbox. Especially if those for those people that are permanent early voters,
Mhm.
those ballots have gone out to those mailboxes. So that's what it means.
Oh, okay. So can I know one question comes up a lot is, can I go to my local school to do voting? Is that where I can go to vote?
You can. We don't know what those facilities, locations are as of yet.
Okay.
The county's going to get us that information, but we've requested to open up our schools to have those as voting places. Usually we have at least one of our schools open for voting.
Polling place.
Yeah, polling place. So here's a big question. As a district employee, can I ask people to vote yes? If I'm sold on this and I feel like it, can I go out and tell people, hey, vote yes on this?
Well, that depends.
Of course.
It's
No easy
never
answers.
quite that easy. So, and I really appreciate that question as well. So, if you're a district employee on district time, it's very important that you don't use district time or resources to influence one way or the other the outcome of an election. So in the FAQ, the frequently asked questions, which by the way, that's a very often asked question, we want to make sure that employees are not using resources to influence the outcome of an election, whether or not you voice your opinion for a pro or con of the election. So no, if you are working or you're on district time, and that would include the use of any of the district resources, email,
Copy machine.
copy
Okay.
machine, working in any sort of capacity. Now, if you're not working and you're off-site, which you're not at school or you're not at the central office or anything like that, and you're out and someone asks you on your own time, geez, I hear Buckeye Elementary School District's going out for a bond. What do you think? By all means, you're entitled to your own opinion and
As a private citizen.
As a private citizen. The only person that isn't is the superintendent.
Right.
And for some reason, they seem to think that we work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and
You
are not
kinda
entitled,
do.
and not
You
entitled to
kinda
their
do.
opinion. So,
You kind of do. Keep working and stop having an opinion. That's
Correct.
Right. Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah.
So if I wanted to learn more about this, because I know there's a lot more. This stuff's complicated. Anything around school finance is complicated. Where could I go to learn more about this?
Well, and that kind of dovetails into from the last question. As a district, we can distribute facts.
Mhm.
We are allowed to distribute facts and talk about what the election is, how much it's going to cost. So we have a number of different documents that employees, community members can use to distribute and talk about the facts. So we'll have those available on our website. We'll have those at school offices. We'll have those at the central office that people can come pick those up. And my office is always open. You can call me if anyone has questions about what the facts are about the election.
the other thing too is we have a committee of folks that work really hard to put out information regarding this, and political action committee that does that, and they're always available to sit down, have a cup of coffee, visit with folks, all kinds of places in Buckeye that will host meetings and such. So anytime anyone wants any information regarding a bond or an override, we've done this quite a few times now and found that it's very successful to just reach out and say, hey, I don't know what the money's going to go towards, or why does it cost what it costs, or why are you doing another bond, or any question that any community member wants answered. We are happy to field those questions.
Great. And to Mr. Bowler's point, I know, as a matter of fact, I see one of the fact sheets sitting right here. You'll see these around, right? And then there's also ones with more writing, more narrative on them. So that stuff will be out there. So this is really great. So I think, can I summarize what I think I heard? You tell me if I'm right. So I heard that we're a growing district in Buckeye, that there's needs for some new schools and technology and buses and safety and security kinds of things, that there's been state cuts for this sort of funding in terms of capital, and so the district is going out for a bond election in November. And that the most important thing that I think I hear you saying is that everyone, no matter what their persuasion is in terms of what they want to vote for, it's important that they register to vote so that they have a choice to be able to use their democratic right to vote, right?
I think you summed it up well, and I think anytime we have a platform or an opportunity to thank the voters, we should do that.
Yeah.
And our community, like I said at the beginning, has been extremely supportive, and just seems to understand that we have a tremendous just population of students that want to be in our district and families, and they seem to understand that partnership is there, and they're willing to support us and help us, and so we want to say thank you to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we hope this was helpful for you. Again, if there's questions, you can always reach out to the district, visit the website. We would want to answer any questions you might have. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more information.